Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our session, Revolutionizing Enterprise Device Management in Modern Dentistry. My name is Adam Mahmood. I'm part of the healthcare team. But today, you're going to get to hear from the other Adam on the healthcare team, Adam Derrick, one of our sales engineers. I've had the privilege of working with Adam for many years, and it's so cool to have someone as passionate and kind of energetic around these solutions, and who brings a whole host of personal experience from the world of healthcare over to the Jamf side. So, Adam, thanks for being here. And secondarily, but not any less important, Jackson Pavelka, correct? From Pacific Dental Services. So really excited to dig into kind of the journey at Pacific Dental, understand the challenges and complexities around mobility, and how you've been scaling and kind of solving for new workflows and solutions. So without further ado, please welcome Jackson and Adam to the stage.
Good morning. It is still morning. We're going to do this in kind of a fireside chat Q&A style, very casual. My name is Jackson Pavelka. I'm an IT engineer with Pacific Dental Services.
And I'm Adam Derrick. I'm a field sales engineer with Jamf. Been supporting Apple devices out in the enterprise for the last 15 years. Like Adam Mahmood mentioned, was a former Jamf customer in the healthcare arena.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Our agenda for today, we're going to go through a lot of material, but we're not going to have a ton of slides where we slide you to death. We're going to go more into the context of what it is that you're seeing. So we're going to talk about our migration journey from our old product to Jamf. We're going to talk about Epic MyChart and how that's impacted the dental space. We're going to talk about how Chrome has enabled us to securely use their browser for our patients on patient-facing devices, and talk about Jamf setup in our dental practices. And last but not least, we'll talk about Umnitsa and how they've helped us with our lifecycle management in the dental office.
Awesome. Lots of good stuff. And this one's hits home to me because I worked with Jackson and his colleague Danny on their implementation of Jamf when they were just looking to evaluate it. So, Jackson, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your story at Pacific Dental.
Yeah, so about a year and some odd months ago, I noticed that our existing UEM solution was not working well for the needs of our dental offices, for the needs of our support users, for really any of our organization, and set out to kind of trailblaze and try and find a new solution. I had a little bit of experience with Jamf in the EDU space in my prior experiences, and so naturally I came back to that. Always kind of been the gold standard in Apple device management, so I definitely wanted to see what they had to offer now 4 years later. We have 1,000 dental practices approximately across 24 states. So any kind of migration, there's devices in all of those locations, was going to be a huge effort and require non-technical hands to help us with that effort.
Awesome. And then I'm curious, why did Pacific Dental choose Jamf Pro?
Yeah, so we actually POC'd 6 or 7 different MDM providers, and we landed on Jamf for a few reasons. The first one is the user experience, both from an admin perspective and from a user perspective. It works. It works well. It does what it's supposed to when somebody tells it to do something. If I'm an admin and I click something, or I write or I say to execute a script on a policy with a very specific trigger, it does that thing. I don't have a problem with it, like saying, "Oh, well, we can't do this right now," for no apparent reason, or something of those sorts. Right? It does what it's supposed to. So that was number one. 2, innovation capacity, right? So at PDS, we are trying to constantly come up with new ways to enhance patient care and also integrate with their medical care. And Jamf offers us a lot of opportunities to expand our device management and the use of those devices into those other spaces in ways that we haven't thought of yet. And then lastly, obviously cost plays a factor to any business. Everybody's tightening their belts right now. And Jamf was very competitive on cost as well.
Awesome. Sounds like you found a good spot here at Jamf.
Definitely we did.
And you mentioned a little bit about how Jamf can go ahead and differentiate because we could do more than just MDM. And I'm curious, what did the migration look like for you?
Yeah, so we worked with an awesome engineer at Jamf, Matt Phillips, who has developed an app that actually allows you to migrate from one MDM into Jamf. And like I said, we had a lot of non-technical users that were going to be helping us with this migration in the dental offices. So we needed to make this as easy as possible for them to migrate the iPads into the new MDM without going through accepting certificates, installing different profiles manually, changing things in system preferences, now settings, right? And really having to configure the iPad themselves. And so Jamf Migrate did that for us. With just a few clicks, they were able to remove the old management from the device, and then the Jamf Migrate app would actually enroll the device into Jamf Pro for them. Installing any of the applications and the configuration profiles from the pre-stage enrollment that was assigned to that device. So it made it very easy for our non-technical users to perform this task and a lot less of a burden. And as you can imagine, across 1,000 dental offices, that's 1,000 different operations managers across half of the U.S. as far as states. So in each one of those states, and regions has different training staff and support staff, and it's just, there's a lot of people that could end up having to do this task, and it just made it very simple for them.
So you're telling me that IT didn't have to go to 22 different states and touch these devices to get them migrated over? Not
at all. In fact, IT was only needed in an incident where there was an issue with maybe the wireless internet not working, or something unrelated to the Migrate app itself that was impacting the performance. But anything with the app itself, IT wasn't needed at all. It was all done through the API.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, it was super, super exciting for us because it made it really, really helpful when we came to leadership and said, hey, this Jamf stuff, this is for real, and we really want to go to it. And they're like, well, what's the lift look like? And well, actually, we can have the OM click 3 buttons and they'll be on Jamf. It just kind of blows people's minds.
And when PDS was initially exploring migration options, Jamf Migrator wasn't even something that was available at that time. So it was something that it was a custom engagement. And that's, being a Jamf customer, we're not just providing you the basic MDM components. That's where we have consulting engineers and other teams that can help to develop apps to solve for problems, like in this case here, migration. So now we do have a migration solution for both iOS and macOS. So I'm glad to hear that went successful. And how long approximately did it take you?
We migrated 3,200 mobile devices in 5 months.
Wonderful.
I mean, that's just puts the exclamation point on all of it right there. Yeah.
Cool. So you guys are using Epic MyChart. So I think everybody who's attending this session, whether in person or virtually, has utilized Epic as their EHR. I think it's pretty cool that you're using MyChart in the dental space. Can you talk a little bit more about PDS's specific use case for MyChart?
Yeah, so at PDS, we are on a mission to explain and educate people that your oral health impacts your overall health. It's called the mouth-body connection. And so things like inflammation in your mouth can directly impact other areas of your health. And what Epic MyChart allows us to do from a dental perspective is my dentist is able to, let's say I have chronic inflammation in my teeth, and that's notated in my chart in some form of a diagnosis. And then 3 months later, I go to my GP and my blood sugar is just through the roof. My GP can now see that my teeth, my gums had inflammation, and that could directly be contributing to the blood sugar issues that I'm having without having to call my dentist, fax any records, or even wonder if there was inflammation 3 months ago or not. All of that is already at their fingertips because the records are integrated using MyChart. Same thing, if I end up in the ER for something, maybe I need an emergency tooth pull or something like that, they have all my dental history right there because Baylor Scott White or UT Southwestern or any of these major ERs, in at least in my area in Dallas, are all on Epic MyChart.
That's amazing. Pretty seamless. When you do have those unfortunate circumstances where you would need to end up in the ER.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's even more important. One other call out here is legacy tech in dental is very prevalent. One of our competitors has over 7 practice management systems across their dental service organization. From an IT perspective, that just sounds like a nightmare. I have zero desire to manage 7 practice management systems across multiple geographical areas, and the number of SMEs and different trainings and things that would require. And so what Epic does is it makes us all on one platform. It is the standard platform in the industry right now as far as healthcare. And again, it just integrates us with all of these other systems and gives us access to the world of overall whole body care instead of just caring for somebody's mouth.
Awesome. And these devices are being used by patients.
Correct. Yeah, so in our dental offices, we actually have iOS devices that are handed to the patients for e-check-in. One of the things we've noticed with MyChart and the ability for patients to do e-check-in when they're at home, I know some of you, if you've ever used a MyChart practice, you get the email, right, and it says, hey, your appointment's in X days, can you go ahead and check in, answer these questions? Well, one, a lot of elderly patients don't do that, and two, we've noticed a lot of times, even myself, where it gets to be the day of the appointment and it's still in my inbox, and I'm like, oh no, I still need to go do that. And so what we have are iPads that have MyChart preloaded onto them using Chrome Enterprise. They're using the Chrome browser to access the MyChart website, and they can sign in and do their check-in on site if they haven't done it already. What this does, though, is it frees up our reception and office management staff, all of the support staff in the office who would be standing there asking all these questions and taking all this information down from the patient. It allows the patient to do it in a self-service format, gets the patient engaged in their care, and frees up resources to do what they need to do for their day.
I don't know about you, but I do not like filling out paperwork. Every single time I'm asked to update my insurance, and I have some form that's just been photocopied, and it's really, really a great experience for the patient when they're doing that on an iPad. That's awesome. Obviously, the big question for any patient is their data that they're entering in. So I'm curious, how is that patient data protected on these shared devices?
Yeah, so we're using Chrome Enterprise browser management to make sure that no data is actually saved into the browser session when a patient enters their data. And we have a quick demo of what the back end of that looks like for you guys. And I'm going to try and get it to fire off here. Yeah, there we go. So through this, you're going to see me navigate kind of through the back end to where we have the devices listed, and we can actually assign different policies and profiles based on device type or OU or use case to these devices. So like for our MyChart iPads, if a device is designated to be used for MyChart, it has a configuration profile that pulls down from Jamf that has an XML attached to it that says, hey, you're enrolled in this Chrome browser management instance. Here's what you are allowed to do in Chrome, and here's what you can't do in Chrome. Here's what will be stored, here's what will not be stored in the browser session. And it allows us to do things like keep it from saving cached data, storing browser history, or even viewing the browser history. It allows us to enable full screen mode so you can't enter another URL if you don't want people going somewhere else. It even has allow and block lists natively in the Chrome console.
Can you talk a little bit about why you chose Chrome? I know initially when we started working together, you were just looking to use Safari, but Can you talk a little bit about that
Yeah,
experience?
so this was a really interesting challenge that we had to overcome, and this is, I think, a great example of where Jamf is more than a vendor; they are a partner, right? We had a vendor-provided managed browser with our previous UEM solution, and that browser was unable to be utilized with Jamf Pro. The settings could not be as customized in Safari. And therefore, and if there's any engineers either virtually or in here, you know what it's like to try and customize Safari. So the next best thing was some kind of kiosk app. Well, kiosk apps cost money, and we didn't budget for that. One of the whole reasons for moving was to save money, not spend more money. And so that's where Chrome Browser Management came in, and Chrome is free. Chrome Enterprise Browser Management is free. What you're seeing right here does not cost you anything.
If it's free, it's for me.
That's right. Yeah. Free is good. You go to your leadership and you say, hey, I want this new thing. How much does it cost? It's free. It's what? It's free. Okay, cool. Yeah, go do whatever. I don't care. Don't talk to me. But that's what's so cool about this. The other option besides using Chrome Browser Management was to use Shared iPad, right? I don't know if any of you have ever used Shared iPad. It is slow. Having the patient press the home button and wait for that iPad to set up for them was not going to be a good option. Additionally, we have offices, if it's trying to pull down those configuration profiles every time an iPad is turned on, we have offices all over the country. We have offices in places that are borderline DSL, right? Like they're not on a fiber circuit. So to have to use Shared iPad and set up the iPad every single time was not a good solution for the patient experience, which is just another reason we used Chrome.
Awesome. You mentioned some very good reasons on why you're using Chrome, but why not pay for an application that's out on the App Store?
So if we pay for an application, one, that's more cost, and two, that's more configuration, right? So with Chrome, we can just set the cloud enrollment key in Jamf Pro, and everything can be done in the console, set it and forget it. It's in the OU, it enrolls itself, and you're done. With a kiosk app or some additional paid app, you have to go in, configure that app, and then you have to deploy that app and hope that it stays patched, it stays updated. Chrome, being part of Google, is constantly being patched and updated, so we're secure against vulnerabilities as well.
How important is it to you that we here at Jamf have a relationship with Google? We have Google listed on our marketplace, which is where we host all of our integrations. How important was that during this decision-making process?
Hugely important, because this was such a, this borders on a workaround, right? This was a challenge that we encountered in progress of migration. The deal was signed with Jamf, right? Like this was something we needed to solve, and being able to be introduced to people like Sam Weiss, Nero, Adam, all of these guys were able to just hop on a call and say, oh yeah, we can do that. I never would have had that network or that ability to just reach out and say something like and ask for that kind of help. And we were able to be connected within hours to somebody that was able to assist us, help us come up with a solution that would meet our needs, help our patients, and ultimately be deployed as part of our migration.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson, on that. I know you might be wondering, hey, they're not using Shared iPad, so what else are they using? So you'll see here Jamf Setup. So Jamf Setup's been an application that's been around since 2017. And Jamf Setup allows you, we're going to go ahead and open up here, to make a choice based upon a role. So you'll see we're choosing the Velscope role here. We're going to go ahead and select Submit. And over the air, without any third-party cards or anything like that, it's going to go ahead and throw this iPad into a particular smart group in Jamf Pro, which in tandem is going to go ahead and deploy the applications and configurations that are needed in this particular use case. So you'll see right now the applications that we need for this iPad when it's initially provisioned are all here. So we're able to go ahead and access the Velscope camera. You'll see all the stock apps are hidden. If we change over to Invisalign, momentarily, those applications that we had on here are going to go ahead and disappear. You'll now see that we have access to the camera. and now we have an application installing. So Jamf Setup is completely customizable. It is a free iOS application. So talk to your sales engineer, talk to me if you're interested in using it. It's very easy to set up.
Yeah, and one of the things that Jamf Setup really did for us is it resolved this issue of when we had offices that maybe had, we have huge dental offices in California. Some of them have 30, 40 operatories, right? So they have like a dozen or so iPads at any given time. And on ortho days, when there's an orthodontist in-house, a lot of those iPads need to be used for Invisalign, for instance. Or when there is no orthodontist, they're calling the service desk, say, hey, can I have MyChart iPads? There was no way to change them between use cases without deploying all of them under one configuration profile. What this allowed us to do was separate the configuration profiles for each instance and allow the practice to choose how they want to use their device and empower them to do that in a way that was most beneficial to them. One of the things I really like about this is when one of our office managers actually will open it for the first time and see that it actually switches between these different use cases, because it is just such a relief for them to be able to do that and not have to pick up the phone, not have to go in and do something on the help desk portal, and not do anything interactive with a person. The iPad just does it for them, and it's just so easy.
Yeah, and sorry for the audio. You do not need to be an app developer. You do not need to be smart with coding or anything like that. Jamf Setup relies on managed app config. So there's just a couple variables, couple keys that you go ahead and modify to make those selections. Everything else is being handled through smart groups in Jamf Pro. So really you could have it set up within a matter of minutes.
Absolutely. And we did. I mean, it was so quick and easy. One of the other things that has been introduced at JNUC this year is Mobile Assist. I hope you're as excited about all the different things that can do as we are. I did not put a slide in here for that because we're not actively using it yet. But if you haven't heard about Mobile Assist, or you haven't been to any of the healthcare sessions before this one, I would encourage you to ask your sales rep or your CSM about Mobile Assist after this session and really find out what it can do for your organization, because it's going to be similar to Jamf Setup, just a huge, huge asset to a lot of healthcare organizations. So we're very excited about that as well.
Yeah, Mobile Assist is going to be a game changer. So, everybody has those devices out there. I'm a shift worker. Jackson's the IT manager. I forgot my passcode. Maybe I want to change the device over to a different role. Jackson or somebody else who has access to the Mobile Assist app can scan a QR code on my device, and then it'll go ahead and initiate an API call to go ahead and make a change to do different things like clear a passcode. So no help desk ticket required. Within 10 seconds, that passcode's removed off the device, or that device gets wiped. So it's pretty cool. For those of you in person, we're doing an interactive lab at 1:30 this afternoon. For those of you attending virtually, like Jackson mentioned, reach out to your sales rep, reach out to your customer success manager if you want to learn more about Mobile Assist.
So now we're going to move over into lifecycle management. We use Umnitsa for our hardware asset management needs. This tool has been instrumental in organizing our Jamf Pro instance. I cannot talk enough about how easy this was to do. And it should be up on the screen now. Yeah, so this is just kind of like a stock slide of what it looks like to map your different fields in Jamf Pro to your fields in Umnitsa. One of the things that you can that's really neat that you can do is you can take a field in Umnitsa and match it and map it to an extension attribute. So one of the things that we've done is, like you saw with the Jamf Setup app, we have multiple use cases for these devices. We also have some use cases on the back end that aren't visible to the end user, such as accessibility options like for the blind and deaf if they need that app installed, things like that. And so if that needs to be done, all of our use case fields trigger a new setup and a new configuration profile for that device. What we can do with Omnitsa is actually see that use case in both places. The other thing that we can do is we have an office number for every location. Omnitsa is the source of truth for all of those locations. But in Jamf Pro, we don't have a way to know what office number it is natively. And so what it does is it feeds that office number into Jamf Pro every 2 hours. And so every 2 hours, all the data in Omnitsa, it's so hard to say, I'm so sorry, in Omnitsa that is being mapped to Jamf Pro syncs over. And so with that 2 hour window, there's a very, very high chance that you are looking at the most accurate and current data, both in Jamf Pro and in Omnitsa.
I think this is a fine example of where you have that Jamf and story. In this case, Jamf and Omnitsa.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's certain things that MDM is not able to pull off of a device, but in this case, we're able to pull it from another source. So.
Yeah, and it's so helpful when all of your tech talks together throughout your stack. I don't know if you're like me and you've come into an organization where communication across the stack isn't the best. And one of the best things you can do for your colleagues in IT, for your customers that you're serving, is get these different platforms, these different services to talk to each other so that you have accurate data, you're making good decisions based on good data, and therefore your customers and your employees are all benefiting from that.
So some of us online and in the room are probably wondering, what makes this integration so powerful?
Yeah, I mean, it empowers a lot our technicians to be able to see things in Omnitsa without having to switch between platforms. And that goes for a lot of different platforms, right? If you can make your tech talk to each other, they don't have to flip through all these different applications and copy paste the information they need maybe into a notepad or into a Word doc, right? Use that information to troubleshoot what it is that they need to troubleshoot and then move back to whatever it is they were doing. Everything is its own single pane of glass. And that's what's so cool about this integration, so powerful about it.
How hard was it to set up?
It's so easy. We have a really talented engineer in our asset management group, Michael Boudreau, who worked with Omnitsa to set this up. I had the privilege of being on the Zoom call, and he was sharing a screen as he was literally moving the building blocks around. It is drag and drop, you guys. It is so easy. I'll plug for them even here. They're in the room. There's a lab downstairs. They'll show you how easy this is. It's like moving pieces of a flow chart into place on like a whiteboard. It is so easy to do and set up.
That's awesome. I think I'm going to go check that out after lunch. Cool. So, I think it's great that we're able to take that data from Omnitsa and map it into custom extension attributes within Jamf Pro. Just another prime example of, Jamf and, somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the power of extension attributes. If you're new to Jamf or, maybe you're a prospective customer, definitely look at the extension attributes feature of Jamf Pro. That can help your organization a ton.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, we started this journey together about 1.5 years ago. You've officially been a Jamf customer now almost a year-ish.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It was kind of a fluid situation.
So, you're maturing your environment. What is next for Pacific Dental? Like, how are you going to take this even further than you already did?
Yeah, so one of the things we're already doing is we actually have patient payment ability on the devices as part of that Chrome browser instance. It's called WellFit, and what it does is it allows the patients to set up payment plans, apply for approval, and all of those things directly from the mobile device, or again, from the apps on their cell phones or the URL if they go to their browser on their cell phones. The other thing that we're working on, if any of you have been in a medical practice using the Welcome app by Epic, we're going to have that in our dental practices too. So hopefully, in the very near future, we will be able to offer that to our patients as well.
That's awesome. You guys are doing some really neat stuff, not only with Jamf, but also with Epic, and also some of our Jamf partners that we have. So
it's really exciting to see all of the different integrations, the different things we can do with Jamf Pro, and there are days where I'm sitting at my desk and I'm in front of my computer screen, and you just have that idea, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this, and this could benefit all of these people or all of this department. And there's just so many different partnerships that you can create and different things that you can do.
If you build it, they will come.
Well, in our case, if you build it, they will use it. But yes, 100%.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson.
Thank you, Adam. Do we have any questions? Other Adam?
We do. Let me come back up here and I'll join you on the side here.
Awesome.
It tells me
I'll
to do
stand
that.
up so you're not like so much taller than me.
No, it's okay. You can do whatever feels comfortable. So, thank you guys so much. It's really cool to sit back and kind of digest this journey you've been on, and the power of and certainly comes through. It's really inspiring. So,
Thank you.
A couple specific questions that came in during some of the earlier sections about migration in general.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I think we covered this in particular when you mentioned the Migrate app, but just to go back to it. So you're saying when you migrated from a different MDM, you didn't have to wipe the devices?
So there's two options actually, and I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this because I don't know what's changed since our migration as well, but there are two options for mobile devices, one that utilizes a device wipe and one that does not. We chose to utilize the device wipe feature where when they click begin, the device wipes and sets itself back up, but there is an option for devices if you don't want to do that where you don't have to.
Yes, and that's something while you have an engagement regarding the Jamf Migrate application, you could kind of choose your own journey dependent upon your particular use case. But yes, you do not have to wipe devices to migrate them from one MDM to another. We have a whole migration server that takes care of all that and makes it a very nice, seamless process. So,
Yep.
Awesome. And a related question, but actually one step further back in the journey.
Sure.
Did you only have iOS devices to start and you just needed to change the device management tool? Or did you actually have Android or other mobile that kind of was a bigger wireless switch?
So all of our corporate-owned devices were iOS as far as mobile devices. We did have a BYOD program in the old product as well that we moved simply because of the prevalence of Android devices did not move to Jamf, but that was a separate effort.
So, gotcha. So there still are some Android devices being used in the environment for...
But they're all
purposes.
BYO.
Gotcha. BYO only. So all in on corporate-owned iOS.
Yes, everything corporate-owned is Apple.
Awesome.
For mobile devices.
and I know we really didn't dive into too much, but is Pacific Dental using Macs?
We are. We have a rather small Mac footprint in comparison to the massive iOS footprint we have, but we do have Mac users primarily in our marketing teams and high-level executives.
Thanks.
Awesome. Actually, another question that just came in. James, thanks for submitting. What rubric were you using to equate value during purchase decisions? Was a device a life cycle concern, staff knowledge of the ecosystem, training, support?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to go back to that first slide, my Slack is actually up there, James, if you want to put it in there. And I will be happy to help you create a rubric for that. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm not sure how much of that I'm allowed to share. So, but yeah, we talked about what's going to bring the most value to the organization as far as cost. Is it going to meet the needs? We already had a device management system, right? So one, can it do what the old one did? How can it make it better? And what can it do in the future? All of those questions were very important. One of the biggest focuses for us was functionality, right? Because one of the reasons we were moving is because we were unable to do the things we wanted to with the old platform. So the biggest box to check was, can it do the function we need it to on these devices?
And maybe just one extra kind of filter. I think I know the spirit of where James's question is coming from. Like when you say that, can it check the box? Can it do the thing? Mm-hmm. Is that through the filter of the user first, or is it through your view of IT serving the user?
Always patient first. Always patient first. So the patient-facing devices always took priority. So those MyChart devices that we talked about, always take priority because those are patient-facing and patients pay our salaries, right? Without the patients, we're nothing. And so we want to make sure we're providing the best patient experience possible. And in order to do that, you have to provide the best employee experience possible. And that's what we strive to do.
I love it. That's a great rubric for value.
Thank you.
James, got it. What a great question. Okay, so a few last questions here. So also back to the migration story from your prior device management solution. Were you using one of those prior providers' managed browsers?
We were, yes. That was kind of where Chrome Enterprise came in and really took the spotlight. We were using a managed browser that was provided by the other vendor. And that managed browser, Jamf doesn't have a managed browser. And so that was something that we needed to overcome.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I think that's all the online questions, but if there are any, I guess, last minute ones, feel free to connect with us after the session. Again, thank you so much for sharing the story. If anyone has specific questions for the Google side of the information shared today, there's some folks in the room that would love to chat. So.
And Nitsa's here too with their bright red track jackets.
How could I miss the red? I apologize. Lots of colors in the room. So.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everybody for attending. Just before we wrap things up, I know we had it up on the one slide, but Jackson and I are both available on the Mac Admin Slack community. So my handle is Adam D.
And I am BuckeyeNut_27OH.
Awesome. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you're looking to implement something like this in your environment, we're more than happy to talk. So enjoy the rest of JNUC. Go grab some lunch, and thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.